Welcome to the weekend. I'm Thomas Frank Carr. You can call me T. Frank. We're here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel discussing Penn State UCLA coming up on Saturday. It's Friday when I'm recording this and when we're releasing it. Nobody's paying attention at work. It's actually beautiful outside. I'm going to be doing this and then I'm getting out. I got to go and enjoy some sun before I'm locked in all weekend to watching film and stuff like that. But I want to thank one of our subscribers and regulars here on the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel. Seifert Carbon asked, "Hey, love the Monday videos where you recap and give us the things we learned this weekend. What about something on Friday to preview the game coming up?" And a lot of times I'll give you some highlights from the live shows, our predictions, things like that as new videos, but not something brand spanking new like this. And it's a good idea. And the good thing is I actually do this for the website all the time. Every Friday, I have my 5 things to watch for in the game. So I study all week, talk to the appropriate people, and then I come up with my 5 things to watch for. So that's out right now. You can go and check out the full article. It is 1,500 words, not to scare you, but like all that's to say, we're not getting to all of it here, all the details. This is going to be kind of the highlights. I'll give you all 5 things, and if you want to go read the full thing and get the nitty-gritty details, that's over at bluewhiteillustrated.com, which you can sign up for right now. $1 a week for a year, $52. That's more than half off, and you get a full year of access to The Athletic. So not only is it off, a deal for Blue White Illustrated, but it's also, an amazing combo deal as well. So check that out. And of course, we'd love to have you over there and all the stuff here. Like the video, subscribe, blah, blah, blah. I'll remind you about that a little bit later, but I don't want to hold you up any longer. Let's get to the 5 things I find most interesting about this game.
Number 5.
Believe it or not, I did edit those to make those, try to make those a little bit cleaner. So I'll keep working on the volume there for you guys. Okay, so James Franklin brought this up on Monday during his press conference. I asked him about this on Wednesday after UCLA fired another coach. Again, we've been talking about this week at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com here on the show. Tim Skipper, the interim head coach, fired Tino Sunseri, the offensive coordinator for UCLA, on Tuesday. This is a little bit like being on a ferry halfway through over a river and then just jumping off and trying to swim the rest of the way. You put your game plan in on Sunday, right? And your final touches, and maybe you have some augmentations, but by the time you get to practice, it's locked in. So they went through their first practice, then fired their offensive coordinator. They also brought in a new defensive coordinator from Syracuse earlier, 2 weeks ago, and this is just bananas. So firing a head coach, having an interim head coach, that happens all the time. That is the life cycle of college football. But I asked James Franklin, have you ever seen this before? Because I've never seen this before. Greg had never seen this before. So here was his answer.
I mean, maybe first game of the year type of stuff. But no, not like this. In my years, me and Andy were talking about it before practice. I've never really seen anything like this.
So in the end, the offense for UCLA probably isn't going to change all that much because really it just runs through a couple of players, and we'll get to that here at the end of this video. I'm sure you know how that's going to go. But defensively, he mentioned on Monday they've been running a lot of cover 1 in the last game against Northwestern. You go watch that, and Northwestern's passing attack, maybe not the one to take advantage of that. Are they going to do that in this game? Because here's something I found striking. This is about Penn State. They haven't faced cover 1 almost at all. So for those that don't know, cover 1 is man coverage, meaning one-on-one, I got you. And there's one safety that is playing the deep middle zone as an oopsies, I'll tackle somebody if they get loose, right? So everyone understands what man coverage is. Nobody's played man coverage against Penn State. And it's one of those frustrating things that, we found out and we learned last year, and then I just forgot in the offseason. And the way that teams have been playing Penn State, it has not really come up because last year Penn State was second in terms of numbers of run plays against man coverage. You might think that, man coverage has mostly and only to deal with passing. But Andy Kotelnicki's system, one of the things he did really well last year was manipulate man coverage to move players out of position and then gash defenses with the run. Because when you play man, you have to follow your guy all over the field. But what if essentially he just scoops everyone over to the left and then runs to the right, which was in essence, a lot of what he did, and getting to that from different formations and shifting and motioning into that. So not only did you get that, but you got better run angles for the offensive line for them to get easier blocks, and you put inferior blockers into key gaps, or inferior defenders like corners or smaller safeties or nickel players into like the B gap where guards go and fight, right? So this was a massive advantage for Penn State and for Nick Singleton last year, where he ripped off long runs and was super productive against single coverage. Now, it was just one facet of where he was more successful last year, but it was a big part of it. And this year, and I'll put this back up here again so you can see it with that context, this year they have 13 runs against cover one. That is 17th out of 18 teams in the Big Ten. So they went from second to last. The efficiency of the run game, the ease of which this is all happening, I think this is a big part of it. I think this is a big part of teams adapting to Penn State, and not just their passing game, and not just their ability to exploit things with certain matchups and certain motions and formations in the passing game, but primarily in the run game. And it has really blunted their passing attack. So, and the run game. If UCLA plays man coverage, could be a great day, and it could be a get-right game for Nick Singleton. So, if they do that, that's something I'm looking for in this game. Let's get to number 4.
Number 4.
Now, we set the table with we have no idea really what's coming from the UCLA offense and defense. So we're going to go kind of player level for the rest of these matchups and things to watch for. And the UCLA D-line, if there's a part of this team that's been good on defense especially, it is the defensive lines and especially defensive tackles. Gary Smith III has been really good. He's 6'2", 340. He's a big dude, and he plays their nose tackle / one tech, so they have another hybrid front. At least they did. I don't know. Maybe they will, maybe they won't. But by and large, they're pretty stout up the middle. The other player is Keanu Williams. He's 6'5", 320. Size doesn't always mean strength, and size doesn't always mean good at stopping the run, but generally these two guys are pretty hard to move. And then if you look at their defensive ends, 270, 265, they can, if they want to, try and replicate Oregon's plan of attack of trying to foul up Penn State's offensive game plan with big physical run defenders up front. The problem is those defensive ends are not quite as good in run defense as what was elite run defense from the Oregon defensive ends. But size, looks like a game, they might have the ability to do some stuff up front. And again, get into where the advantages and some of the matchups up front, some advantages for Penn State maybe, and some advantages for UCLA. All those things you get to in the article, but we're 8 minutes in and I've only gone through number 4. So let's get to number 3.
Number 3.
Okay, so again, not a whole lot of, it's not a deep roster of talented, athletic skill players, but there are some guys that I think pop on film and are good and might be able to make some plays against Penn State if Penn State isn't paying attention. And this is kind of like, I'm not trying to say we're scraping the bottom of the barrel, because I do think these are some pretty good football players. Penn State should be able to handle this. It's just like, how much is this, like, am I stretching it of like, oh, these are dangerous players? I don't know they're dangerous players. But Anthony Woods, running back, number 6, is pretty good and has been effective as a pass catcher. He has 6 broken tackles. He breaks a lot of tackles. He's an undersized guy, both in the run and pass game. He isn't a major target, but he's caught 13 of 13 targets so far this year. And he's a useful / versatile player that they can use in the passing game and in the run game. He leads them in designed rushing yards so far this year. Offensive line, not great. So anyone who can create above and beyond, break tackles, play in space, and get first downs. Those are some good things that Anthony Woods does, with all the details again in the article. The other one is Mikey Matthews, and this is more of a, I like really fast dudes whose legs move at a higher rate of speed than everybody else. So he's the guy that flashes the most, because when he gets into open space, he accelerates well. He's 5'9", 180, right? He's not a big football player, but with speed, he's the one guy that has like an explosive play to 35-yard catch against New Mexico in a game that they were down to New Mexico, which is kind of why all of this turmoil has happened for UCLA. But those are two guys that I could see, if Penn State's not careful, some of those young linebackers, maybe putting them in conflict with Dom DeLuca or those young linebackers. Those are two players on the interior because Mikey Matthews is a slot player, playing like 90% of his snaps from the slot, that could challenge Penn State in those situations. Now, the other thing Penn State can do is just play man coverage and clamp down on those guys because they have the corners and the athletes on defense overall to kind of overwhelm UCLA. I don't know generally what Penn State's going to want to do against this team because there's some very obvious flaws and there's some very obvious players that are going to be a part of the offensive scheme. And I think these two are two that if Penn State is playing some zone coverages and they're working with their linebackers to try and get them integrated into replacing Tony Rojas, might be a game where Matthews or Woods are able to create some separation and get a big chunk play or two. Again, I think Penn State could handle these players easily in man coverage. It just depends on what they want to do schematically, and they're not going to play man coverage the entire game. That's just not what they do. So yeah, just be on the lookout for 7 and 6. Those are the two numbers, I think, from the receivers that are good for Oregon and can do some stuff in the passing game. We'll get to number 2 and number 1 shortly.
Have you heard of Wave Fruit Farm? It's this great farm market bakery and cafe. You can shop with them either at their farm in Port Matilda or downtown State College.
No way.
Yes, Wave Fruit Farm. They have all sorts of seasonal fruits and veggies.
Way cool.
No, Wave Fruit Farm. But anyway, you should visit their bakery and cafe. They serve amazing food all day.
Way.
Fruit Farm.
Of course, before we get to number 2, like, subscribe here to the Blue White Illustrated YouTube channel if you're enjoying this kind of run through of the UCLA offense and defense and how they match up with Penn State. You can also hype the video. I still think that everyone here on YouTube asking you to hype the video doesn't know what that means yet, but it's helpful, and they put it down there as a thing that you can do to help us out. So please, if you'd hype the video, like the video, leave your comments on who you think UCLA might put out there to challenge Penn State. I don't think it's going to be a long list. I have a better question that I'll get you after number 2, actually.
Number 2.
So this is going to deal with the UCLA offensive line and I think how Penn State can functionally shut down their offense. And a lot of teams have been able to do this. Penn State is the best defensive line they've seen so far this year, including Utah and Northwestern, which, again, I'm not saying that's saying a lot, but it is by far the best defensive line they'll see this year. So they've been playing a lot of musical chairs up front. And I don't know all the details. I'm not a UCLA reporter, but I do know, just watching the film, that right tackle Garrett DiGiorgio has played a lot of different places, and they experimented with him at Northwestern at guard. He's 6'7". That right there is a red flag to me. 6'6" is the tallest I want for an offensive lineman on the interior, and I still think that's even a little tall. Like 6'5" is great for an offensive lineman on the inside, especially when you got 6'2" defensive tackles that win leverage by just being the squattiest people on earth. And it didn't go well from a run game perspective, but he didn't give up as many pressures to a Northwestern defensive line, having watched them a couple times now playing Penn State's opponents on the schedule. They're solid, they're stout, they're Northwestern-y, right? They stop the run, they're physical, they're smart, they don't make a lot of mistakes, but they don't make a lot of plays. Penn State should be able to rip this into this offensive line fairly easily. And then the other guy, the right tackle that replaced DiGiorgio, I don't think was more athletic and certainly struggled on the edge. And then Cortland Ford, who's been in and out of the lineup, and why DiGiorgio also played left tackle at one point. He's, be respectful here, I don't know how he's playing tackle with the set of skills he has. So a kick slide is when you're going in pass protection. It's the technique that you use to essentially run backwards as an offensive lineman without losing your power in your legs so that you can then grab defensive linemen who are running at you, right? So they're doing everything backwards. Anyway, what I'm trying to describe is his kick slide is about 3 inches. Another one, let's say a normal one is 7, and I'm making these numbers up completely. If the normal kick slide is like a 6-inch or 8-inch step backwards, his might be 3. And so, like, just do the math there, right? He's going half as far, half as quickly. And Dennis-Sutton should just destroyed in this game. Like, there should be, if Penn State can get a lead, then the defensive line should be able to, if you're putting UCLA in obvious passing situations, they should be able to get as many sacks as they want in this game. I just don't see a way that UCLA is going to prevent the pressure, both interior with a 6'7" guard, if that's what they roll out this week, and then these tackles that have these physical liabilities. So Dennis-Sutton, Chaz Coleman, Zariah Fisher, I don't care, but Coleman and Dennis-Sutton have the kind of the most juice off the edge, and I could see that being a big day for them. Okay, the obvious number one for UCLA.
Number 1.
Yeah, it's Nico Amalava. He's the offense. He is the team's leading rusher, second in design yards, by the way, so they use him a lot as a option quarterback, both power and read option. They also use him as a scrambler. He's got 144 yards scrambling this year, so he's the team's leading rusher. Also, and I said this when I was doing some early scouting, and I was on social media, and both of these quarterbacks can throw the far field out. So James Franklin has talked about throwing the deep out to the far sideline of the field when you are on the opposite hash. It's like a 40-yard throw laterally plus then 20 yards deep, right? Almost 20 yards deep. It is a hard throw, and not a lot of college quarterbacks can make that throw. Well, Nico Amalava can make that throw, and he makes that throw pretty regularly. So we're going to have a battle of guys with strong arms, and the difference is, I think, between him and Drew Aller is that he is not as cautious as Aller. And this does work to his advantage, where he will put the ball anywhere and he does not care. He will put it into tight windows over the middle. He'll throw that out I just described when it's into double coverage and there's a guy sitting underneath it. And somehow, again, Northwestern, he throws it over that guy's head and completes the ball on the sideline for those wow throws. So, good and bad here for UCLA. He's a great athlete, 6'6", scrambles out of the pocket well. As big as he is, he does have tough through contact running, and he'll eat up yardage. Almost 150 yards scrambling this year, so Penn State needs to contain him in the pocket. As bad as the line is, he has made it a little bit better by being able to get out. So contain, again, important this week like it was with Dylan Gabriel, although not nearly as dangerous because, again, there aren't as many athletes, and I don't think that Amalava is as good at seeing the field as Dante Moore. But he's the main threat. It's him. He is literally head and shoulders above everyone else on the UCLA offense, both in his play and in how tall and big and physical and five-star quarterback he is. So, once again, Penn State is going to go into a game where normally their quarterback is the better talent. And we're not having a conversation about Drew Aller, good or bad. He is usually the more talented physically of the guys in the game. Not the case this week because Nico Amalava is unbelievably talented, and Penn State can't let him keep UCLA in the game with these wow plays. So just in terms of the defense, they got to be on their responsibilities, on their keys, and when there is a scramble situation, they got to know their rules of plaster, and then whoever goes after the quarterback has to get him down in open space. So those are the 5 things here from the UCLA that we're looking at this weekend. Here's my question to you here to end the show. You can reply on the video. You can reply over at BlueWhiteIllustrated.com. Is there anything Penn State's offense can do this week that would make you feel better? I wrote about some things I think they can do that would show positive growth, but I don't know that if you do that against UCLA, anyone's going to care because of the whole big game cupcake thing, right? So let me know in the comments, what do you want to see them do to show growth on offense this week? As always, we'll be back. 12:30 is the tailgate show coming up on Saturday here from Blue White Illustrated and 99.5 The Bus and 7 Mountains Media. We'll talk to you then.